Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your guy Jay Will, and I'm here again. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today I'm actually going to take you into a production track, and I'm going to let you guys watch me live time for about 30 minutes and actually see how we pull out some additional sound in this particular project before we compose it. Let's dive in. All right, guys. So as you can see, we've got everything set up here. We've got the beat kind of set up in a performance style layout, as I've shown you how I do before in other videos. On this side, in our other screen video, or other screen, I also have another section of this video that shows the beat actually being laid out. So let's open it up so you can see that these are all audio performances that have been recorded. Okay, you see we've got the drum machine right here. So, we've already recorded our kick independently, our claps, our hats, and all that. So, I'm gonna go ahead and close just for the sake of keeping room so that you can see everything that we're doing. Okay. So now that you guys see that the project is set up, the project's laid out. What we did is we did a short intro loop right here where we took two 4 bar, the full 32 bar piece. We broke it up into two 4 bar pieces to give a different introduction space or feel to the track. We haven't really finished the percussions and all that as how it's going to be in the intro, but we have a basics layout of it. And then what we did is we put the full drum line together with the full production of the actual melody. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys today how to pull out some extra sound and get some extra oomph in your project. So let's go ahead and dive in here and let's see what we can create here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up my master channel right here, and this master channel is going to allow us to very simply import some different effects, things of that nature. And right now we have our SonarWorks section that's on there. Our SonarWorks is going to allow us to immediately dive in and keep like a leveled sound throughout the entire studio. So, if you are looking for a way to really kind of get your sounds to par in your room, that's a really cool application, hint, hint, wink, wink, that you can utilize to do that. Today, I'm going to work with Ozone. I don't normally get to work with Ozone when I do a lot of these training videos, but for today, I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to load up Ozone, and you guys see that here. So let's go ahead, close this so that we don't get distracted. Let's watch our beat, and let's really get to work on what we're doing. So right away, what I'm going to go ahead and do is just kind of clear everything off. I'm going to show you guys that we're going to do this from scratch. The very first thing we're going to go ahead and do is put on gain match. Gain match is going to make sure that you don't get yourself fooled by thinking you're doing something when in reality it just is adding more if you will, space or the appearance and the feel of sound, the presence of sound. Sometimes you increase those highs and it feels as if it's getting louder, but it's not really getting louder. You're just increasing the high end. We want to make sure that when we do this gain match, it's going to be leveled across both when I'm using the system and when I'm not using the system. And by doing that, I'll make sure that I get a nice clean volume take. For this track, it's an urban track. So let's go ahead and hear it, and then we're going to start working on it. So let's do that. Bring the claps in. Beat starts or the song starts when the clap starts, then it takes off. All right. So the very first thing that we're going to go ahead and do as we're sitting here and we're getting this kind of together, since I'm doing this digitally, is I want to decide what sound I want. And in this particular case, I think I'm going to go with, probably a tape machine sound. So I'm going to open up tape machine. I'm not going to go too deep into the tape machine because that's probably for another training. But what I'm going to do is do 30. 30 is going to bring out a little more of that low end rumble for us and should get a different tonal balance on the track right out the gate. we did a bypass. What we're going to do now is we're going to input the drive a little bit. I like to start at about 1.5 when I'm driving it, drive my tape machine a little bit hard. That's just my take, okay? Now, if you hold shift and do that, you can do big jumps. If you do it with just without shift and you just use your little up down arrow keys, it'll jump as you see in like 0.4, 0.5 increments. So if you balance this back out to 1 and then you do, a tap, it's a whole 1, whole 2, right? If it's at a 0.5, then it does it in 0.5 increments. Just for those of you who are not aware of that, check this out. On 5, right? So you get an extra 0.5. So you see where I'm going? So if you want to work in 0.5s, put it at 0.5 and then move it. It'll still move in the full volume of 1, but that'll do it at 0.5. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. If you're kind of confused, you're trying to figure out what each section is going to do, just hover over top of it. Ozone does a good job at telling you what you're getting ready to add or do. The harmonics is what's going to really make the tape machine vintage jump right out the gate. I'm going to go heavy, and then back it down so I can hear it. So let's check it out. Listen on that low end. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm kind of like that. I don't want to get it overly saturated right out the gate. So let's go ahead, add in the next one, and we're gonna go ahead and start working with the equalizer now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and play this bad boy and check her out. Right away, I see my low end is kicking down here, so I'm gonna go ahead, bring this one down, and this is gonna be where I roll off, probably at 35 for this particular project. And by doing that, it just kind of gives me more space to work with everything. I'm actually going to slide this down to 30 so that my roll fades into that 35 band, 40 band up here. All right. So let's hear what it does to the low end now. Let's turn it off. So you should be hearing that the low end comes in a lot clearer when I am doing that fade and that roll off. That's because we're taking out a lot of low end prosonic and a rumble that's happening in on that particular track. Just look at it. It's going crazy right there, right? So I like to have that clean and defined. If you still want to get some more of that bass kick, you can make it a little sharper slope. I think that's about 24 probably. Yeah, 24 slope versus like a -12 slope. So that'll still get that nice gritty punch, but still give you some space on your upper and mids. All right, so let's do that. We're gonna open up band 2 and then bring band 2 about right here. All right. That's the air of that kick drum. I'm gonna bring it down about right there. Bring it in here actually and tighten it up. Oh, you can hear that bass cutting through now, right? So let's start to get where we want to have it at. All right. That's our sweet spot right here in our melody. So I'm going to open that up. 0.9, 0.1 is quite a bit. So I'll probably bring it down to 0.5. I am going to go ahead and add a band 8. And then band 8, I'm going to go ahead, go ahead and bring it down to about 15, 2, something like that. And then what we're going to do is tighten her up just a hair. And then I'm going to raise it up. Okay. It's gonna give me my space. Yeah. I'm gonna put band 4 right where 5 is, and then move 5 out. I'm gonna raise it up just a little bit more than I normally would because I want that to kind of cut through that frequency that I'm hearing. Let's turn it off. Yeah, everything's kind of cutting through now. It's a little hot, so I'm gonna bring it back down a little actually. I'm not going to mess with it anymore right there. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's see what the spatial awareness is doing on the project. Sterilize it a little bit now. Too big there, right? Let's learn what the track is doing at its loudest points. All right. So we took the kick. We leveled that kind of in the center, but left it a little bit wide. I like doing that to give my low end a little more feel. Takes up a little more space in the track, but narrows the amount of space that it could take. Because we frequency cut it, so there's just that punch just coming through right now is what you're hearing, and that's filling up space without taking a lot of my bandwidth on my actual meter. All right, so let's add this back in, cut back out the low end. Too much, right? Too narrow. Too much. All right. This is where all the percussion space is at. So we're gonna push that one a little bit. You'll hear when I bring the subs back in that it'll balance itself back out. So let's add in this section. Remember, guys, we did that like adjustment on the high end side, and when we did that adjustment on the high end side, I was telling you how I wanted to have more in the song, make it a little richer, a little more excitement in the project. That's what we're doing here. So I'm gonna really drive that one and leave this one. We're gonna kind of essentially stair step it. That normally doesn't happen. So let's go ahead and turn everything off and hear what it sounds like all together. Let's do dynamics to tap it off at the end. And I'm gonna let it learn what it's doing. Let's see here. Just doing that mid side, that mid like adjustment, just makes it more present. make it side, it adds more space, which is good because now the vocals can sit in that middle. Let's see what the mid is like again. I would probably do stereo. I would probably do stereo wide, side to side on this one, and do my vocals mid. And then if we do that, we should be focused and do pretty good. So let's hear one more time with everything, and then we'll wrap up for this quick session. Let's bypass everything. Flat. Bring it all back. I'm just gonna loop the most active part of the song right now. So let's loop the most active part of the sound, and we're gonna do a bypass on, bypass off. Let's check it out. Cut it off. Doesn't even sound the same. Turn it back on. It's more life in it. It's more excitement. It sounds more like a pop track now, a hip hop track. And guys, that's how quick and easy it is to really get this. So today, just to recap what I've done is we went in over here, just to move this off our screen. We went in over here. We organized the beat prior to the session today. Once we organized the beat, we went ahead, took it, put it into a basic format just for us to have something to work with. We decided to adjust and crop the beat. We did some adjustment on the melody section, and by doing that adjustment, we did like a build or an emotional build to the project. I know we've talked about doing emotion in your music and creating that vibe. We did that at the beginning, and then we went ahead, dropped the entire project right around like the 9th bar, start of the 9th bar. Then what we did is we talked about doing Sonarworks and having like a leveling program to help you get tonal correction inside of your studio. And then from there, we talked about Ozone 8. And Ozone, we went ahead, did some vintage tape metering. I explained why we would use this here to talk about our even harmonics and our odd harmonics, all right, and what those are. We talked about how we're going to go inside now and do some EQing to create a little more space so that the track can pop more and can breathe more. The more that track breathes, the more exciting the track is, the more lively the track is, and the more once the vocals start going in there, the more the track's going to really blend together because you're going to be able to start sitting things in certain spaces that you couldn't sit them before because it was just too much going on. Music is kind of like the old adage of theory, right? Only one item can sit in one space, right, at a time. You know, if you will, I know I summarized that really jacked up, but that's the truth, right? So like if I hit a kick drum at 90 hertz, I have a keyboard playing at 90 hertz, I have something else at 90 hertz, right? There's only going to be 190 hertz that cuts through. So when that 90 hertz cuts through, the loudest one's going to take priority and it's going to mute everything else. And that's what you're having happening a lot of times when you're doing mixing, and you don't really realize what you're doing, or you're trying to like edit and get sound out of your music, and you're struggling with it. That's what's happening is you have too much sitting in the space. So you have to start coming in and carving, not with the intent to create more volume. And that's why we went ahead and did the gain match. So you aren't being affected with the perception that volume is increasing. You're actually hearing what you're doing on each individual piece. And that's so important. We went in, talked about imaging. What's really cool is, again, we have a learn feature on this particular program that helps us learn the frequency bands, and it helps break it into quarters. And then from there, we can start adjusting it. Maybe in another video, I'll show you how I'll turn this into a 16 or 32 band adjuster. But for right now, we just do it with this basic 4 band adjustment. And then from there, we went ahead, talked about doing some dynamic pushing. And with the dynamic pushing, what that's going to allow us to do is be able to essentially come in and just kind of do some mid side to side or total correction. We didn't go really heavy in here. We left everything pretty much the same. We just did a very basic touch, which just opened up our music and put it side to side a little bit more, gave us more space. So now when we do the audio vocal takes, we can drop them kind of in that middle central ground. It'll allow the vocals to cut through really good. And then we could put those vocals in that mid to fill in that gap and then tighten up that bass when we do our mix down. And then once we do that, it'll all blend together, but everything will have its own space. The vocals will be really clear and it should sound great. So, with that being said, guys, I hope that this session has given you guys some insight on how to get different things out of your music, get a little more tonality out of it, be able to create a little more space, and how to prep and prepare for the vocals that are going to come to any project that you do. With that being said, it's all love, peace, happiness, and I hope you enjoyed the video.